So here's a little thing about me. I love Bioshock 2, and I actually find it quite vastly superior to the first game, to be honest. I mean, the first game was all about like world building and like establishing everything, but Bioshock 2 was pretty much everything I wanted from the franchise. It has my favorite trope, that of being a monster protector, and the gameplay is just so much better with having plasmids on one hand and the weapons on another. And overall, it just resonated with me a whole bunch better. So I've always wanted this Eleanor figure, and I found it for a decent price on eBay, so I figured I would do a quick little repaint. I know this figure is pretty inaccurate. Mainly, I mean, the entire suit is supposed to be pretty much like this creamy color, and the head sculpt is alright. It kinda... I don't like the posture for her at all. I hate this like hunchback look, and I feel like the face is a little bit too fat, and then along with that I want to make the eyes a little bit nicer looking and make her slightly less sad. So for starters, we're going to use some very fine grit sandpaper, and we're just gonna tone down kind of these like fatty bits here next to the mouth. Okay, so we have trimmed down a little bit of the fat, so to speak, and I also trimmed a little bit of plastic here, but it turns out it did a bit too much, so I'm gonna go in with some epoxy clay here, some milliput, and just kind of repair everything. But I'm also going to do another thing. I mean, we can start with the bits here. Oh, this clay is really sticky. I think I brought a little bit too much to that specific point. And we're also going to build out the chin a little bit, because I think her chin is a little bit too weak. There aren't really any good reference pictures of Eleanor, so I don't know if this is what her actual model looks like, but from like a pure, this is what a human looks kind of reason, I'm gonna try to build out the chin a little bit more. And yes, I know Bioshock is very stylized, but this white chin strap, she looks like the ghost of Jacob Marley. I think I'm gonna have to do this in sessions, because I find this to be very difficult to work with because of the hair. And I want to get rid of these like little dimples next to her mouth. So just taking a little bit of clay like so. Please work with me. Clay is kind of in position. So now we just smooth it out here. And then, of course, we're going to sand everything yet again. And it's going to look terrible as long as it's not painted, but that's where, you know, the magic of paints come in. For the record, I've gone and said this plenty of times, but I absolutely hate sculpting. Probably because I'm not very good at it, but... Okay, so we've gotten to this point now. Like, she has a little bit more of a chin now, and I've just kind of repaired the, like, the side of her face, and I've gotten rid of those, like, weird dimples she had here. So, you don't really know where you are with the sculpting until you paint it, so I'm gonna use some Cadian flesh tone just to make everything consistent, and then I'm probably gonna mix some white in there too, to get, like, a more natural looking skin tone. And I understand that Rapture is underwater and she's probably never seen the sun ever, but I don't know, this sickly skin color is a little bit too much, so we're going to try to have a more normal looking skin color. So actually, because of how much darker these bits here are that I sanded, and how light the clay is, it didn't really, like, the skin tone was just really uneven. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna base everything in white, and hopefully that's gonna help the matter. Kind of like a primer. Okay, so the entire thing is white. It looks a bit wacky, but I think maybe, hopefully, Cadian flesh tone, which is pretty strong in pigment, is gonna make everything look like somewhat seamless. So yeah, I can see the coverage. It looks pretty good. Like, there's a line here, and I think the Cadian flesh tone pretty much covers it up completely. You see this, but the paint is a little bit too thick. I want it to be a little bit smoother, and that's way too much water I just used. Yeah, this is like a decent, like, first layer, and then it's just gonna end up covering everything. So as you can see, the paint has pretty much masked all the inconsistencies between the plastic and the clay. So now with the base coat of Cadian Flesh Tone on, we're going to brighten it up a little bit. So this is a mix of Cadian Flesh Tone, white, and just a tiny little piece of red. And my brush is a little bit too dry at the moment, so we're gonna have a thin layer of this, like so. Getting a much more kind of natural looking skin tone now. And I think 2 more layers of this ought to do it. This little strand of hair is really annoying because it's covering up like the middle point of the face, and I have to kind of hold it up. I've tried to tape it, but it just doesn't really work. And of course, we're also going to redo the eyes pretty much completely. We have a pretty good base for a skin tone right now. I'm gonna experiment a little bit, and I have like a slightly redder paint, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of it on the cheeks. I don't really know if this is even gonna show us more like colorful, but no, I need a little bit more red, I think. And this is very subtle, and you will probably not like notice it too much at all. But I feel like, even if I can't really see it all that well, it's just kind of nice to know that it's kind of there. I can actually see it. It's not very obvious, but just subtle enough. And while we're at it, and we have all the paints out already, I'm actually going to do the lips real quick. So with lips, I kind of want to do something kind of closest to the skin tone, so it's actually the exact same colors mixed, but there's just a little bit more red in there. And let's see. I think we can do a little bit more red. Oh, while painting the lips, I ran into like a little bit of a mishap, because I found out that the lips were pretty hard to paint so they looked even. You see on this side here, they just like go out a little bit too far. This side looks really natural, but this side is just a bit, I don't know. It looks pretty good in the camera, but in real life it's a completely different matter. So I mixed some new clay, and I'm just going to fill in a little part of the edge of the mouth. And we're talking about an extremely small piece of clay. Now the important part is to smooth it out as much as we can, because I don't want to go in here with sandpaper, since we did quite a lot of work on the skin tone already. I think we also have to build out the lips a little bit on the side, just like. Okay, so the mouth turned out a lot better. So now we're gonna move on to kind of what I wanted to do the most in the first place, which is redoing the eyes. And the eyes are actually too small. Looking at comparison, like pictures from the game, there is a very recurring thing when you straight up only see your eyes as she's talking to you. I will use that as my reference and paint a new outline. And I often ask myself why I'm not using like a Gundam marker or something for this, and the answer is I don't actually know why I don't. I think that's kind of round. And then I also want to add a little bit of black here for the eyelash. I don't want to like do too much detail work for the eyelashes, but maybe like a little bit at least. Some very light, kind of like, I don't know, feathering? Is that what you call it? But I'm basically just painting in a bunch of eyelashes. That one there got a little bit too strong. Okay, these ones are getting too thick. but I can just go in with some skin tone and fix that. So this eye here isn't really seen too much, so I don't really care too much about this one being perfect, but I still have to do it. And we'll also redo. I've always wanted to try painting. I was really looking forward to doing these eyes because they are so much bigger than what I'm usually painting. So I thought it would be a nice change of pace. Look a little bit more on this side. And as you can see, this looks terrible, but that's because I haven't done the blue yet. So she kind of has these kind of like light blue eyes with a little bit of green. So I think this Vallejo blue-green might actually be perfect. But I'm also going to mix in some actual light blue as well. I love how the eye I don't care about as much turned out way better than the one I actually did care about. So, how it's done. But I think just because these eyes are so much bigger than what we usually work with, I think I'm gonna be a little bit adventurous and I'm gonna add in another blue up top. And this is gonna act as like, almost like eye shading. Maybe going with a different brush wasn't the right move. I'll tell you what, even though it's two very, very different blues, I just like mixed in, it's such a small area that you don't really see it. So instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the light blue a little bit clearer down here. I'm still not really feeling the blue. What if, what, a little bit of white mixed in down here. There actually is some contrast now in the actual eye. Like, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can like see it like a little bit. I do need to make this pupil rounder though. Sometimes I kind of go back and forth on if I like painting in a light reflection or if I just let the gloss varnish do its thing. But I think in this case, just because the eyes are so big, I think painting in a light reflection is definitely the way to go. So, nice one right there. See how much life this just immediately gives. Maybe a little too much. I'll tidy this up off camera. So when I do eyebrows, I don't like to do like a clean line. I like to do like kind of like little strokes like these to make them a little bit uneven. I just think it looks better than having like two big lines. So here is Miss Eleanor Lamb completed, and I am really happy with how she turned out in comparison to what she started out looking all like pale and sickly and kind of like swollen in the face. I think the resculpt turned out great, and I love the much more brighter eyes. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, the figure is pretty inaccurate and it's pretty weirdly articulated. Like, why is the elbow hinged like inwards and there's no swivel? It's just a really weird design choice. I would like to maybe like cut this entire bit off and add like a brown ball joint, but that will have to be a project for another time because I don't have any brown ball joints. And then this arm here is like super limited. I mean, it was a little bit more than I thought, but still. I'm also not really a fan of how much she's, like, slouching. Like, if she's looking up like this, her posture is just really weird. Like, I feel like she would have to bend backwards quite a bit to have, like, an upright posture. But, yeah, this turned out really well. Like I said, I love Bioshock 2, and I love Eleanor. I think she's fantastic. And, I might, at some point, give this little sister a repaint, because this paint job for the eyes is really, really weird. I also figure since I have her up, I might as well bring up Daddy Delta here, who I've had for a very, very long time. And, little Eleanor here. So you can see she grew up. She kind of kept the same French, but yeah, here they are together. She is taller than him, which I'm not really sure if this is what the heights are in game. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and hope you enjoyed the video.
Mother was right about one thing. I have been watching you, Father, studying the way you have treated others, and now I know who I am.
You will always be with me now, Father, and when I need you, you'll be there on my shoulder, whispering,